Welcome back to Omnigaming, everybody. And by welcome back, I mean, welcome back, my bitches and bros and non-binary hoes. It's After Hours, baby! Woo!
I don't have one of those little clackers.
Yeah, well, it's fine. It's fine. God, we're professionals. You know the show is very professional. I don't know why you... There you go.
There we go.
That's what we needed there.
Clackers.
Alright, you probably already... You dropped the fucking clackers already? God damn it. No wonder we can't do this show regularly.
It's a train wreck and a half, like this friendship.
Yeah. Alright, you seen the thumbnail, you seen the title, you know what this is about, but we're gonna have a little bit of banter for like a minute or so. You know, just kind of break the ice to kind of ease y'all into it. First of all, yes, After Hours is back, much like always. Very slow, very pedantic show. But only reason why we don't do them a lot is because I quickly realized that I have a lot to talk about, but my lovely host here does not have much to say sometimes. Which is
Would you believe the show's not actually scripted?
Yeah, we're literally just pissing in the wind here, and somehow it comes back.
We flying by the seat of our fucking pants.
We really are, but occasionally we do have a topic, you know?
Sometimes.
Like obviously you clicked on it, so you know we have a topic. And we're going to take you back today. Cause
Relive your childhood. Relive your childhood for a second.
So, for those of you listening, make sure you pull up that beanbag chair, pour you some, I'm going to say Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the goated cereal of all time.
Bruh. I'm not gonna get into it.
It's
good though.
We're not gonna argue what the best cereal is.
No, it's good though.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say we were friends. Don't ruin the friendship.
We'll be here too long if we keep talking about that. So
don't ruin the friendship over cereal. Anyway.
Oh, never.
So make sure you got all that, because today we're taking it back to Power Rangers, or more accurately, Brandon, please take it away. You're more knowledgeable in this area than I am, so please, what is the origins of Power Rangers?
The Sentai in Japan, which is lovingly called Super Sentai. Not to be confused with the other Thai word.
Muay Thai?
Sure, let's go with that.
Anyway.
Let's go with that one. Sounds about right. But yeah. Actually, Power Rangers came from the 60s, actually. Mm-hmm. To be fair.
Hey.
We just lanced it to the 90s.
Well, see, the thing is, though, we've had at-length discussions about Power Rangers because... Unfortunately, I feel like I grew up too early because I'm still not in Power Rangers. I did watch a little bit of it here and there. But you, my friend, you're still fully absorbed into the culture of it.
Very. I'm on the other side of the coin now. Because I'm on the Japanese side of the things now.
Yeah, but as things go. So tell me, Sentai originated in the 60s, right?
I believe so. I'm double checking my notes because I need to make sure I'm right on this.
Once again, like we said at the beginning, the show is not scripted.
There are no notes. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants from offhand knowledge.
Even though you said this was your topic, repeatedly.
It is. I never said that I was gonna make notes. 75 was the first one.
Oh, so you were off by about a decade and a half.
Yes.
It's okay.
But 75.
It's okay. At least. Sometimes you don't know your shit. It's fine.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think I know my shit, but I don't know my shit sometimes.
Alright, so...
But 75. That's the first Sentai.
Okay, and tell the love people out there, what exactly is Sentai?
Sentai is basically... It is Power Rangers, but it's more Japaneseified. Because they made it. We just took the shit and reused fight data from it. That's all we did. We basically took the Japanese show and just recorded the human bits and stole their fight bits.
Man.
Because Saban, who made it, didn't want to actually re-record and make new fight scenes with new costumes. So they stole the other fight.
So wait, you mean Saban made fucking millions off of literally copying and paste?
Basically.
Hold on, wait, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me
Yeah.
they just copied and pasted that shit?
The entire fight scenes are all copy and paste. The only new content they made are with the American actors. So any scene with the American actors in it is new shit that they recorded. But the whole fight scenes, anytime they're in Ranger costume, that's Japanese footage.
All right. So This is probably gonna be a two-parter. We're gonna have a little fun with it. So let's dive into the Sentai part of things. Like, what is the difference between our Americanized version and the Sentai? Because I know you've seen a lot more than I have.
Most of the Japanese Sentais are rooted in Japanese culture, mythologies, and that's where a lot of the designs come from. A lot of the designs come from like different mythologies in Japan. So different yokais, different demons, different creatures that they like.
Wait, isn't this a show for kids though?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
not all the time. It's not.
I guess from what I've seen, from what you sent me from Sentai, some of that shit is definitely not oriented at kids.
No, it is definitely not. Because when you look it up, some of these Sentais they're not PG. They're not really PG-13, but they're not R. They're like in the middle.
So TV-14.
Yeah, TV-14, like in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, because you get one. You can get like one cuss word in. That's it.
Yeah.
You get one, no more.
A lot of them get a lot more than one though. That's the thing.
Yeah, kind of like when we agreed that you could say shit. Shit is an okay word.
Yeah.
For PG-13.
And a lot of the Rangers are never actually, because if you know the trope from the Americanized version, most of them are teenagers, young adults, not
high schoolers.
Yeah, basically. A lot of them, most of the time. Not Sentai. 95% of Sentais are mostly adults with actual jobs. The original Sentais, I think one of the original ones, the Red Ranger was just a cop. Like, they were government-funded programs for real adults.
That sounds like a good chunk of anime that I watch.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, you can draw a lot of comparisons from anime and Sentai.
I mean, it's Japanese, of course I can.
Of course, because it just makes sense. And so yeah, so like when you think about Power Rangers, we got Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in
Let's not date it.
93?
Let's not date it. We'll be here all day trying to find
99?
dates.
I think it's 99.
I just said let's not date it.
I'm dating it though.
We just have. You'll put it up on the screen.
I'll find it later.
Yeah, you'll put it up there.
That's what it was. It was made in the late 90s, early late 90s. So in the 90s.
I remember watching it in the 90s. So
somewhere in the 90s it came out. But that actual Sentai came around like in the 80s. So, and the plot was completely different because if you remember, we got like 3 seasons of that show. 3 to 4 seasons of it, or whatever.
Not really.
Yeah,
I just remember watching it.
There's like 3 to 4 seasons of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Bro, I'm telling you, when I was a kid, I didn't know shit about seasons. It was just on TV.
Yes, but when you look it up, there's like 3 seasons of the show, 3 or 4, if you count the Alien Rangers part of it, which is kind of.
I like the movie.
The movie was good. But
we're losing track. We're focusing on the Sentai.
The Sentai, that's what I'm getting at. I'm getting into the differences because that's the best part to go about it. So when you look at the two side by side, plot is completely different. Because as you know, in the Power Rangers, they're teenagers with attitude. If you remember.
Or I use the word attitude with heavy quotes.
Attitude.
Just put that in heavy quotes, attitudes. I don't think any teenager talked like that at the time.
No. But
we were listening to Nirvana and Korn was up and coming. Godsmack was a thing, you know.
But if you look at the Japanese counterpart, one came before, which is called Zoo Ranger. I'm not gonna ZUU, not ZOO.
Yeah, I know.
Just clarifying for who may hear
Listen,
that.
We're not claiming to be professionals on this topic, all right? This is just something I know you know very well, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about.
So Zoo Ranger came out in, if I'm believing it's the 80s, and I'll correct myself later.
Yes, you will. Future Brandon, keep up.
Their whole plot line was they weren't teenagers. They were actually like ancient warriors who were in cryo sleep.
It got real convoluted real fast. Hold on. Wait. How the fuck do we go from that?
How do you get teenagers from ancient warriors? It's easier for kids.
Listen, they made that shit more believable than Avatar: The Last Airbender. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's one of those things is where it's like, yeah, these were ancient warriors who were put on ice to fight the ancient witch, which is Rita. But she wasn't called Rita. She was just a witch. I forget her actual Japanese name.
Future Brandon, if you find it, put it in. We're gonna keep it moving.
I'll put it in later. But they literally were like, I pulled this up for you so you can have a look see.
Okay.
Because.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna pull it for me, you're gonna put it up here for them.
Yeah,
right?
I'll put it there for them.
Don't worry, I'm gonna get y'all up here to date with me. Y'all learning just like I am.
But I was hoping to find like an actual picture of the cast because you can see their outfits because you see how dated the outfits actually are because it's kind of funny.
I'm expecting a Boku cleavage. That's what I'm expecting. If it ain't that, I'm gonna be a little disappointed.
It is not that, unfortunately.
Well, then I'm disappointed.
But it's heavy.
I am disappointed.
Okay, there we go.
Did you find it?
I found a picture of the team, yes.
Okay, but just flip the phone.
I'm trying to. Okay. There you go. There's the 5.
Okay, that's actually pretty dope looking.
And they're so they're not morphers. They're called Dino Buckles is what their morphers are. And they're basically harness these ancient creatures because they lived in the dinosaur era, the prehistoric era, with the dinosaurs roaming around. Apparently.
Boy, this plot just got weird.
The plot.
Hey, you know what? To my defense and to you listening or watching, guess what? Japan.
Definitely Japan. There's another one of the actual just regular the outfits.
Yeah, go ahead and just save those for later so they can see it too.
It's funny because you'll see those outfits and they just walk around those outfits every single day. That's their normal casual wear.
Bro, have you
in the modern era?
You ever seen gangsters like back in the fucking 80s in Japan? Yeah. That would be normal.
Yeah, for them it's just no way better than I. It's one of those things is where they will take like I guess convoluted is the word you would use for it.
Oh yeah, it wasn't convoluted with ancient warriors putting cryosleep when they were in the age of the dinosaurs to find an evil witch. Yeah, totally not convoluted at all. That's just normal storytelling, like Goosebumps.
But they probably make a lot more. They do make sense though, which is kind of funny.
Listen, they didn't even explain the morphin grid until much later in
exactly.
Saban's retelling.
Exactly.
I was like, what the fuck's the morphin grid?
Because they're flying by their pants.
Well, to be fair, as a kid, I didn't give a fuck about that. I wanted to watch me some goddamn Power Rangers.
And that's really what it is. Is like American Power Rangers is directed toward kids like
yeah, clearly
like
my dumbass as a kid. I'm gonna say that for the hot takes bit later. I'm gonna save that for later. I have some hot takes on Power Rangers,
but you can obviously tell that Sentai is made for a young adult audience.
Yeah, so, you like teenagers,
middle school, high school, kids.
Bad dudes or rad dudes and ladies.
Basically. So
because at the time we had boys and girls,
and
whatever the fuck you're identifying as. Yeah, I'm taking shots at you.
And it's funny because sometimes when you will watch the Sentai versus when you watch them side by side,
I don't.
What if you ever do?
I'm kidding. It's a joke.
If you ever do, if you just look at the costumes because they hire American actors to do the teenager part, the living part, the human part of it.
Yeah, the A side of the story.
Yeah, the A side of the story, and they won't always hire the same kind of because it's atypical for Power Rangers, right? You have 3 males and 2 females for most of the teams. 95% of teams are structured that way. If you look at them all side by side,
yeah.
Only rarely do they deviate. Ninja Storm being the heavy deviation with only 3 people, and then 2 more later, and then 1 more later.
No, they always add, they always add
more. They do always add more. They could start one way, but they always end up typically the same.
I love the power gap too. It's like that new Ranger's like, oh man, he's super overpowered. Next episode, he's a regular member of the team, relegated to the same power level as everybody else.
Exactly. But
why, White Ranger? Why? You were the only exception. Was the White Ranger in fucking Mighty Morphin? That was the only exception to that rule because he was technically all of them.
Fun fact: did you know the White Ranger outfit that they use for
was spooky?
Well, not spooky. No, but that whole Tommy's White Ranger outfit, his new sword, his new Zord, all of that came from a completely different Sentai series.
Yeah, you told me about that.
That never got adapted, but they took that one thing and gave it to Tommy. Because
it was cool.
It did look cool, but when you watch it back as a kid, you don't notice it. But as an adult, you're like, why does that costume look so different compared to everybody else's?
See, here's me, my kid mind. When I saw the White Ranger for the first time, I was like, this is fucking awesome. And they kind of storyboarded that in, like, oh, this is peak. That right you're seeing, that White Ranger shit, that's peak.
And the more interesting part of the fact is that definitely Sentai is more series by series. It's not an overarching story.
Yeah, wait, didn't you? I believe you did tell me that the Sentai has, like, everything's connected, right?
So, a little bit. They will bridge season to season. Like, they'll have a bridging episode, like former team meets new team.
Yeah.
And they'll do that little crossover. But that's it. That's the only thing they will.
So kind of like what we did in America with the whole, like, Red Ranger special and shit like that.
Yeah, they are aware of other teams, but they never interact with each other.
So, like, how does it work in Sentai with other teams? Like, is it, like, different timelines or just, like, location based? Like say this sect of Rangers in Kyoto, this sect of Rangers is in Tokyo. Is that kind of how it works?
It's either that or they will kind of, like, I think either their actual, because most teams protect a thing. They watch over this thing or this place or this ancient thing.
So more like a very convoluted subplot of Jujutsu Kaisen then?
Kind of, yeah. So, like, once their great evil is killed, I basically think they just kind of retire.
Now, keyword you want to use, you've told me before, this is kind of cool. I haven't watched much Sentai, from what you told me. They do die. That is a thing. That is 100% a factual thing.
There are several series where people do die.
Like character deaths. Obviously, the enemies die, but in Power Rangers, they just go away.
They just go away. And Power Rangers only had one death, one canonical death, and that was it.
Wait. I want to say it, but you correct me if I'm wrong. It was in Lost Galaxy, right?
It was.
It was the Red Ranger's brother.
No.
Fuck!
Because he came back. He did die for a
little bit
of episodes, but he came back. The only canonical death is in Lost Galaxy, but it was the first Pink Ranger. She died.
Okay, yeah, that's coming back.
Yep. She did die.
Just to clarify, if you haven't noticed by this point in the fucking episode, we both grew up on fucking Power Rangers, alright? Both of us respectfully. I just kind of, grew out of it. Brandon still kept it in his back pocket.
Yeah. It's something fun to go back to and watch.
You're here for the fun.
It is definitely something that I just love turning my brain off to.
But we don't talk about Mystic Force.
We don't talk about Mystic Force.
We don't talk about that one.
That is a clear
indication of poor storytelling.
Of poor Americanized storytelling.
But I will say that opening was a fucking slap.
That intro did slap very
Now,
very
I don't know
hard.
how you're going to structure it. There might be some, like, intro music from Power Rangers playing in the background, like, very low over our talking. Turn that shit off.
It's my alarm clock. I'm very sorry.
Actually, you're probably going to something here. Hang on a second. There we go. Just in case mine wants to act up. But yeah, like, we respectively grew up on it, and I have very fond memories of Power Rangers. I really do. Like, I had the Morphers as a kid. I had the action figures. Tommy was goated.
He was.
And still is. If y'all don't know, he still is, though.
He still does a lot of things.
Yeah, man knows it still. But also, another thing that I learned was, in the past 4 years, I recently learned there was a Power Rangers comic book.
Yes, there was that.
Yes. And they've done a lot with the story, and I would say probably Drakon is one of the greatest villains to come out of that.
He really is.
But we'll get to that more, and let's just save our fangirling for part 2. How's that sound, bud?
Sure. So, thinking about it, right, there is 15 whole Sentai series before Zoo Ranger, which is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers adaptation that we got. So, our first one was Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Their 16th Sentai
was Zoo
Ranger.
So that story was our first.
Yes.
Okay.
So because what I believe they do is they will look at it and they don't, because of course they're not going to bring over anything that has heavier themes in it because
talking about kids here.
So that's why they skipped a lot. But Saban was trying to do an overarching storytelling. But because they were adapting Japanese fight scenes and just copying and pasting the shit.
Man, editing back then must have been a pain in the ass.
As most people have said on record, it was very annoying and it wasn't very kind to the actors.
No.
But, so they started to kind of run out of usable footage because there's only 52 episodes of Zoo Ranger in those costumes. The next series never uses those costumes again. They don't. So they had to like splice and cord and do a lot of hard editing to make those costumes work in the fight scenes, because they still use the Japanese fight scenes from the other Sentai they didn't use.
Yeah,
they still use those same monsters, but they had to cut around it to make the new actors in the old suits fit and still look somewhat good.
Man, the things we do for kids, huh?
Because when you look it back, you can heavily tell where and how they edited.
Yeah, you can definitely tell now. Like, as a kid, it was seamless. But nowadays, you can tell where the footage is dated and where the footage is fresh.
And how, like, that's not... Why aren't the monsters and the Rangers on the screen at the exact same time? Why are there only back shots of the costumes?
Well, at the time, we didn't care.
At the time, you didn't care. Now, as an adult with fresh eyes, you're thinking, that...
Something don't look right here.
Something's not... Because if you look in the backgrounds of the fight scenes in My Power Rangers, you can see the Japanese...
the backgrounds.
Street designs.
Yeah. Like, I remember seeing a shrine in one of the fights. Yep. I was like, wait a minute. They're in Washington. That ain't there.
Why is that there? That's not a...
Now, keep in mind... But like I said, we can pick fun at it now, but when we were kids,
it was some shit.
That shit was lit. That shit was lit, dude.
It was very lit.
Like you couldn't catch me lacking on Saturday mornings. Like, you weren't gonna get me out of the house until 1:00 in the afternoon because my Saturday morning cartoons was on.
That Power Rangers was slapping.
Power Rangers was in that damn slot, bro. I was on that shit day one. You couldn't keep me out of that.
So, for season 2 of Power Rangers, they used a different White Ranger costume, but they didn't just steal that one costume from that Sentai they didn't use. They also stole all the Zords from that Sentai. Because if you look, this is the photo for that Sentai, which is called where is it? Ghost Sentai Die Ranger, which is those are the rest of the outfits. Mm-hmm. Those outfits are really cool. I like this. This is a series that's like, I wish they actually would have done that, but also the Rangers in there actually do use, I don't want to say magic, it's more ki, but they do shoot fire, they do shoot water. It's
aesthetically the same thing.
Aesthetically. They actually use like elemental powers in this Sentai, which is where their powers come from. Is basically, but they're also like,
yeah, it kind of takes you back to fucking Dino Thunder, where like they have the Dino Stones and they have attributes of their respective dinosaur. Yeah. Used it once. Never used it again. Yeah.
First episode.
First episode. That's the only time you see it. I'm just like, bro, you didn't necessarily need to morph to do half the shit. But whatever.
It's so season 3 of My Power Rangers is basically more footage from Die Ranger. And then season 4, which is My Power Rangers Alien Rangers, if you remember the Alien Rangers, the Aquarians, the aliens from the water planet.
Oh, yeah.
When they turned the cast into kids because...
Reasons.
For whatever reasons. I still say that's a stupid-ass thing to do. Just
remember, show for kids.
Yes, but it takes it back to the same thing they did in GT where they turned Goku into a kid. It's the same concept there.
Different episode, Brand. We'll talk.
I know, but I'm saying it's the same context, and I'm just thinking why you didn't need to do this, because I think 15 or something episodes later they turned them back. I'm like, then what the fuck? What's the point?
Comedy.
But then they want to use more Sentai footage because they kept running out. Because they didn't change the costumes. They didn't change anything else but the Zords and a few other things.
So Basically, you answered all my questions. I was going to go leading up to this. Like, you agree that Sentai is king.
Sentai is the king.
But for nostalgia purposes.
The first like half all the way up until Power Rangers Samurai for Power Rangers is good.
Yeah.
Power Rangers Samurai is where I realized this shit's not.
It's getting old.
They're going off the rails because again.
Oh yeah, well, it wasn't going off the rails with anything like fucking Time Force or goddamn Rescue or Lost or Zeo. None of those were off the rails, obviously. Or SPD. Sorry. I saw your fucking face when I said that.
To be fair, SPD is a really good show. Like, I liked SPD.
The dog.
The dog was...
A little much.
But that's not...
A detriment, though.
It's not a detriment, and it's not something I wouldn't see Toei doing anyways. I could see them totally writing a dog person into the show.
Yeah.
I mean... yeah, that's not a surprise. But, so, if we're going back to some key differences, right? So, when you talk about the original run, the original Power Rangers run was supposed to be Mighty Morphin all the way up to space. And that's supposed to be it.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be anything past space. But again, it made money.
And Hasbro liked money.
At the time, it was a bond like money at the time.
Well, the tit for tat.
Yeah. But because it did so well...
Hold on. See, it wasn't just Disney buying up all the companies. This has been a practice that's been going on forever.
Because Saban was going to let it go. They got tired of making it. We're done. We're done with this shit.
At some point, you just think to yourself, God, I want to make something else than this.
Yeah, because they got tired of making it, so they just kind of moved on. And left Power Rangers kind of sitting there with a lot of money on the table, basically. And Hasbro was like,
we can make toys.
Like,
this is marketing.
We can branch into things. And now they were working in partnership with Netflix to put the new Power Rangers stuff on Netflix. So...
Yeah, it pops up on my recommended list when I open up Netflix.
So basically, the season 3 or 4, whatever it was, of Power Rangers was Alien Rangers, which even as a kid,
that was a fun concept though. It was so fun.
It was, but even as a kid, I'm thinking, where's Tommy? Where's Jason? Where's everybody else? What happened?
Where's my guys?
These ain't my guys. I don't know these people. Which is probably why they kept the same team for so long.
Because they were familiar.
For kids were familiar with it, yeah.
Like, you can really identify all the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, even you watching right now, or listening, you already have, like, 3 Rangers from Mighty Morphin in your head you can readily identify.
Tommy's the easiest recognizable one. Probably the most recognizable one.
And Tommy's been fucking, 5 or 6 different fucking Rangers at this point?
Original Green Ranger, original White Ranger.
Hold on. Damn it, I want to talk about the Green Ranger, but we got to save it for hot takes. We got to... Part 2! I can't wait for part 2 of this fucking series!
But again, when we're thinking about... So, then we move on because... Then they move on from Alien Rangers to Zeo. Which...
Oh, Zeo. That opening was questionable.
It was the weakest.
It was questionable.
It was very weak.
A lot of synthesizing.
But in the Japanese equivalent is O-Ranger, basically. And...
Sorry, I got the last bit of my energy drink.
Yeah, O-Ranger.
Keep talking. Shit.
So, O-Ranger, or Zeo for American, O-Ranger was the 20th anniversary of Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, when you look at the two side by side, the storytelling is a lot different. Because again, Sentai, new team every single season, never changed. It was always a different season.
You ever think it's because they thought we were slow and they never did that? You ever think of that?
Probably.
I feel like that's what they were doing. It was like, these kids are fucking dumb. They're not gonna... They can't really identify a whole new cast season to season.
They're here for the fights and the cool suits. That's it. That's it.
That's all I... Bro, I got hopped up on fucking sugary ass cereal watching that shit. Damn, I didn't give a fuck.
Oh, so... And O-Ranger is the series that started the whole former team versus new team, or team up crossover, whatever.
Basically bridging the series.
Yeah, that's where this started, was in O-Ranger. The first time they ever did it. and their 20th anniversary was that. But O-Ranger, if I remember, I've not watched every single Sentai because I ain't got the kind of time for that.
I mean,
I could make time, but I'm also watching.
To be fair, we have a lot more pressing matters to do.
I'm trying to watch One Piece at the moment. Hold up.
Later episode, Brandon.
There's a lot.
You hint drop in here. We're trying to keep these things a surprise.
So I'm trying to. So I'll get around to watching O-Ranger at some point. But O-Ranger is again.
When you get caught up on One Piece, I know you will.
I will. I will at some point. But again, the theme, the Zord themes are the same card theme. I forget exactly what the whole theme of O-Ranger was, but Zeo itself was.
It was something.
It was questionable. It was alright. It wasn't terrible, but it was like.
I just remember the fucking Dune Buggy. That's all I remember from Zeo.
Oh yeah, the Dune Buggy.
That's all I remember. That's the opening theme and the fucking Dune Buggy is all I remember from Zeo. I don't remember the plot, the characters, none of that shit. I vaguely remember the Ranger outfits. I remember they looked weird. They had headlights on the fucking.
Yeah.
The Ranger outfit.
Yeah, and then the next one, which is another arguably weak one, was Turbo.
Hold on, can we skip this one? I didn't really enjoy Turbo.
Turbo's theme was pretty good though. It was alright.
It was a slap.
That was the best part. Turbo was kind of weird because they started technically the first episode of Turbo is the movie. So it's kind of weird.
I know! That was so fucking weird.
But then when you watch the movie, the main villain in the movie is still alive.
Which makes no fucking sense.
So it's like, didn't you die in a volcano?
Well, we thought the same thing when we played Tekken, but volcanoes don't work.
Apparently not. So, that was a weird jump. And again, the Turbo movie was all original footage that they created. And it shows, because you know how often they're in their suits? Not very often.
Yeah.
Except for the last half of it. Because budgets. And they got lazy and didn't want to have to make the suits.
Listen, considering we both know what it goes into making movies and or a show like we're doing right now,
yeah,
it's understandable if you want to get a little lazy.
The kind of, what's all the fuck about that movie is that both Tommy and Kat, the Red and Pink Ranger for Zeo, which is the previous one, their morphers broke when they fell in the ocean, which I call bullshit because those morphers.
Hold on, I know what you're gonna say. Because. Go ahead.
Those morphers survived a lot of other shit besides water. They fought literal water creatures and they got wet. Why did the ocean break it? Looking back on it, with adult eyes, you realize, because they didn't want to have to write them in costumes. That's why they spent a lot of...
I feel like that's the part where it's like Chekhov's gun. Like, you use the morphers in Act 1. You gotta use them by Act 3. You can't just show it and not use it.
Exactly.
It's Chekhov's gun. Oldest film tactic.
And you can tell how good the Turbo movie looks compared to the show. Because there's a clear, like color correction, all the technical words you want to use for how good they look. You can tell the difference there, yeah. especially when they're fighting and the designs of the suits when they're fighting. There's a clear distinction there. But again, I don't know much about the Sentai for Car Ranger. The Sentai for Turbo is called Car Ranger.
Turbo just sounds better.
Yeah. Gekko Sentai Car Ranger.
Car Ranger.
Basically, yeah. Again, I don't know much about Car Ranger. I never watched Car Ranger. The plot sounds definitely...
The same thing like fucking Turbo. It's probably convoluted as shit.
It definitely reeks of late 90s, for sure.
Oh, how bad does it reek? Are we talking plaid?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy!
But then we come to the final, supposed to be final Power Ranger show in Power Rangers in Space. Of those first sets... Definitely my favorite. I love Power Rangers in Space. That shit was so fun. Everything from just being in space to the Psycho Ranger arc of it was so good.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The Psycho Rangers were arguably one of my favorite sub villains.
I feel like the concept for a Psycho Ranger was awesome.
Their whole design, their whole arc, everything about them. Like, we are you. We know you.
Exactly.
And we're just better than you. They had to get creative with the fights. It was so good.
Yeah, plus, doppelganger, that whole thing when you see you walking down the hallway.
It was so cool because if you remember when they fought Psycho Blue, they had like, they all wore the Blue Ranger costume.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's and that quickly, that lesson to about the Megazord fight scene and that kind of...
I mean, it kind of fills it out quick, but the concept was real good.
The thought process to get to that point was really, really cool. So, I thoroughly... Space was... Especially the ending of Space, where you see the final arc of Bulk and Skull, where they're just like... They come into their own finally. You've watched them for 5 or 6 seasons. At this point, it's like... It literally could have ended right there and it would have been fine.
Put a nice bow on it.
But again, money.
Or excuse me, my favorite thing to say, not money, but marketing. This is one of the few things where I feel like, again, I have not watched the Sentai version for this one. I just know the concept of what it is. Yeah.
The concept for Mega Ranger, which is the Sentai version equivalent to Space, is that they're playing an arcade machine. And their suits and everything is they basically get dragged into an arcade machine, and that's where they fight. And all their Zords and stuff come from robots in the arcade machine.
Hey, for you Sword Art Online fans, take notes.
So
you fucking degenerates.
So when I look at the two concept-wise side by side, I'm thinking, I don't really want to watch Mega.
Bro, do you want your high score erased from Donkey Kong Country 2? Dude, it's on the line. They're fighting. They are out here in these streets fighting for your high score. That first place you put in Donkey Konga, where you were... They're fighting for you to have that spot. Don't you put some respect on there.
Alright, sure, fair enough. Funny little anecdote, when you watch the morphing sequence in Space, and they do their, their morpher thing, but in the background, you'll see something that says Mega in the background.
Yeah.
I just really laughed and never understood why I said Mega. Mega Ranger. That's why it says Mega. Funny little anecdote.
Well, I guess as kids, we're not going to pay attention to that.
It's the little details that you don't pay attention to because, again, you're a kid. But as an adult, you're thinking, hey.
When you're a kid, you're just interested in the flashy lights and the very bright colored people.
Yeah.
That's all it mattered to you as a kid. But as an adult, you can see it clearly now because
I can see it clearly.
No, it's not even that. Your innocence has died. You've realized you have to pay taxes. The world has morphed you into this crooked creature with a bent back.
The bent back. Oh Lord. And if I remember correctly, now we're skip ahead for a few. Again, Lost Galaxy was really good. The story was kind of weak in Lost Galaxy, but
yeah, I'll agree to that.
But again, it's the one I hold the most nostalgia for because it's the one that I remember clear as day watching the first episode as a kid. I remember that shit's the first instance of Power Rangers I can remember myself watching.
For me, it's Time Force.
So I hold a lot of nostalgia for Lost Galaxy, even though the writing is
weak,
very, very weak. But again, Magna Defender,
great,
a awesome 6th Ranger.
Yeah,
even though he's not technically a Ranger,
he's a robot.
I think in the Sentai he is technically a robot.
Yeah,
but in the American version, he is just Leo's brother. He was a robot, and then Magna Defender died and gave his powers to Leo's brother. And
yeah. Like once again, weird things happen.
Yeah, and then again, Lightspeed Rescue was amazing. It was really good. I have no problem with Lightspeed Rescue at all. Lightspeed Rescue was,
no, I've got no.
Time Force, amazing, great. No complaints.
The theme will always be the number one in my mind.
That shit is fucking
Time Force is
wild.
For me, all-time favorite will always be Time Force. Like, I know I've said that others are my favorite, but number one will always be fucking Time Force.
Time Force was that shit. That shit was amazing.
Time Force had a lot going for it, and it had a very well thought out story.
It really fucking did, though. It's crazy.
And it's crazy to think they actually went to different time periods, but they always had an excuse for going there, and they somehow fix the things that were wrong.
Exactly. It's fucking crazy.
And before any of you fuckers out there try to be like, oh, why did they go back and stop Hitler? That's not the purpose of Time Force. They guard the entirety of the timeline. That means from the dinosaurs to 6,000 years in the future. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
And there was a very, very deep story in Time Force. It was very well thought out. I loved every part of it. Especially the Quantum Ranger bits. That shit was fucking lit.
Quantum Ranger, again, is top tier for 6 Rangers. Like, he is just amazing. Also, fun fact, let's go back to time. Let's rewind, go back to Lightspeed Rescue for just half a second. So, in Lightspeed Rescue, if you remember, there was a Titanium Ranger. If you remember. Silver.
Yeah, I actually remember him from the game Lightspeed Rescue, and I also remember that he was stuck in a cage, and like if you didn't rescue him by the end of the game, so you could play, he just kind of melted. That was kind of my first. I was like, what the fuck?
Right, but in the Sentai, which is called Go-Go 5,
that sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome. There is no Titanium Ranger. That's completely American. All those shots, that suit, that morph, everything was completely American made.
Oh, so we found the budget for that.
They did find the budget for that, apparently. But that's why he never shows up that often. If you remember, he's very, very sparse in the show. He very rarely shows up.
But when he shows up, though...
It hit.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, because he's a badass. He's really cool. And this comes to the story, yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah.
But budgeting...
But don't worry, they squeeze them into the game somehow.
Exactly. So, that's always a fun little... Sometimes Americanisms are really fun. Like, the Titanium Ranger are really, really good. So, no problem there.
Oh, no. Psycho Rangers, Quantum Ranger, and the Titanium Ranger, completely awesome ideas.
And then, again, you have Ninja Storm, which, again, fucking slap.
I will say that because it was the first time I saw the actors in the suits, and that was very surprising.
Yes, very. Because it's like...
And they were ninjas!
Fucking ninjas with ninja powers!
I figured it would be the easiest cop-out for them to do Ninja Storm and use nothing but Sentai footage. I figured it would be the biggest cop-out they could. But no, they put some love and care into Ninja Storm for some reason.
They really did. And it showed...
I like the dolphin.
The dolphin was really good.
Dolphin! Also, your sensei's a hamster.
Yes.
Let's not forget that CGI hamster.
I mean, he was a hamster to begin with, but he got turned into a hamster. And
you shut up. In my mind, he's always a hamster.
He's always a hamster.
And he had a son that was a nerd and became the samurai.
Because of course he did. Ninjas and samurais, of course.
Which made no fucking sense at all.
Hey, it's American. Ninjas and samurais and American are the same.
I hate that your joke... For those of you that are laughing right now at that joke, you know what we're talking about.
The sad part is it's really true.
For some fucking reason in our mind, in America, we think ninjas and samurai are the same fucking thing.
And they're completely not.
They're thematically different in every way. They're fundamentally different in every way.
Samurais are cops. Ninjas are the CIA. Basically.
Yeah, for some reason we can't tell the difference.
Apparently not.
It's like confusing cowboys and gangsters.
I know, right? It's weird. It's crazy. But again, I have not seen the Sentai for that, so I don't know. But I can imagine it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
Just the actors are different, and maybe the...
I feel like by the time we finish this mini-series of After Hours, we're both going to be watching the Sentais that are mentioned here, and then we're going to have to come back later and rebuttal 90% of what we talked about.
Exactly. And then we get to, again, another goat in Dino Thunder.
Woo! Dino Thunder! Fucking loved it!
Dino Thunder was really cool because Dino Thunder was the first one that introduced me to the Sentai. Because if you remember, there's an episode in Dino Thunder where the team are watching the Sentai.
Yeah, I remember. I thought that was some meta shit.
That was some meta-ass shit. And I've watched a couple episodes of the Sentai, which is Aba Ranger, and it's really good. It's still really good. It's a fun... Again, there's clear cultural differences, but they're still both really good.
Yeah.
They don't... That's the beauty of a lot of these earlier Sentais versus Power Rangers. They don't deviate that heavily from each other. conceptually some are very different, but a lot of them, when it comes, especially for later ones, they're almost one for the most part.
Yeah.
Except for, again, the characters themselves and the personalities. But actually, no, because if you... the personalities are kind of similar. We'll get to that in a second here. Let's go and talk about it now. Actually, I skipped Wild Force. My bad.
I was waiting for that, but
I got ahead of myself.
well, once again, this is your ride. I'm just in the passenger seat.
I got ahead of myself because it's Time Force, then Wild Force. My bad. Wild Force is also amazing. Wild Force is great.
Wild Force has my favorite villain of all fucking time in it.
Which one?
You know the one. They don't, but I'm gonna say it. The fucking wolf guy. I forget
Oh,
his
yeah.
name. That man was
The bullet.
No, I'm trying to save all my fucking gushiness for part 2. This is more of an educational intro for those that don't know.
But yes, Wild Force is amazing. Wild Force, if I am not mistaken, at least for the Sentai version, which is Gal Ranger, if I'm not mistaken, which I might 100% be confused,
I think you're right, actually.
that had the first noticeable character death that I can recall in Sentai. There might have been others that I just haven't watched yet, because there's 16 shows before.
Yeah, so
the first one.
So for those of you Power Rangers or Sentai aficionados out there, be kind to us.
So it's one of those things where that's the one that I can recall there being a death, because I remember seeing a clip of it on YouTube in my recommended section once or twice. It's like, oh, this character dies. It's like, eh.
Watch that video be next to this video, and my recommendation would be like, oh, After Hours Powers, and then the Power Ranger death.
that'd be crazy.
If it's there by the time this comes, or a little bit after it comes out, you'll see it somewhere. I'll take a picture and send it to you. It'd be great.
And speaking of character personalities, I did watch the first half of Gal Ranger's first episode today, to kind of just because I felt like watching it. And when I watched that episode, the first episode of Wild Force,
yeah,
they're very, very similar. The key differences here are, in Wild Force, the Red Ranger, Cole was his name. Cole was a basically Tarzan, if you remember. He was raised in the wild, basically.
Talk to animals.
Yeah. He talked to animals and he raised in the wild. The Red Ranger in Gal Ranger is basically Dr. Doolittle, except for the animals don't talk. He just hears them talk. That's basically because the Red Ranger in Gal Ranger is a veterinarian, so he can talk to animals.
Right, that makes sense.
So, wild man versus veterinarian. But their morals and what they're doing to help animals is basically
the same.
And their reaction to seeing Animarium and
so basically it's like Crocodile Hunter versus Veterinarian.
Basically, yeah. So and basically their reactions to seeing Animarium and the Wild Force Zords and the Red Lion and all that is basically one for one. They're the exact same. But again, the key difference here is Wild Force had a team of 3 dudes and 2 girls. Girls were yellow and white, Rangers respectively. In the Sentai, it's 4 dudes, one girl. The girl is the White Ranger only. But the personality versus the 2 Yellow Rangers are very, very similar. They're both very arrogant and they're both very mean at the beginning. The personalities are one for one. Even with the Black Bison Ranger in both shows are very similar. Both big, muscle bound, but gentle. Both Blue Rangers, Max and the Blue Gal Ranger, are both the same. Happy-go-lucky, and I love water, basically.
Water.
So the character tropes are basically one for one, just slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
But it's cool when you watch it, because also if you watch it and you realize, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken, but when you look at the costumes, you can tell which Ranger is male and female, because the males don't have skirts. They put the skirt on the female Rangers.
This is before we got woke people. All right?
So
calm the fuck down.
So that's the one tell. And you can tell they will they will add the skirt if they change the actor type.
Yep.
They'll either remove it or add it depending on which one they do.
Yep.
Which is a little cool. Which is a little.
It's a little.
It's a little nose like.
A little skirt by right here. Anyway, we have exhausted ourselves.
And we're not talking about the.
No. Don't bring it up. Don't even speak it into existence.
Oh, that movie we watched?
Shut.
I have a hot take for that movie.
Part 2, baby. We're going to be launching into part 2 with our hot takes on Power Rangers. And boy, oh boy, it might be as long as this one. Anyway.
It did pretty well for somebody who just kind of flew up the their pants.
To be fair, we did kind of pre-plan this last night. That's kind of the...
Barely.
We pre-planned a good bit.
Barely.
We
sat here for 5 seconds and decided, how the fuck we gonna do this?
No, we don't know how to start these things. We know how to when we get momentum, that's where we get going.
Once the ball starts rolling, it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes.
Anyway, Brandon.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before I do the outro?
It's morphin' time, bitch.
I guess it is. So, while we morph out of here, remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell notification, stay updated with all of our content. Follow me on Twitter, guys. You also follow the Twitter channel of I'm Gonna Be White. I post stuff that's sometimes mostly cringe and updates on videos. And with that being said, you ain't getting the normal after hours outro. It's morphin' time.